G'day Volkswagen fans. I just thought I'd share something with you regarding the coupling for the gear shaft into the gearbox. Have a look on the left. The coupling on the left is an aftermarket one, and on the right is the original 44-year-old one from my Super Beetle. I'll just lift this up. This is the retaining shaft and pin, you might call it. Notice the small depression there. That depression is for the thread of the screw, retaining screw, to grip onto. And what happened the other day was, I thought while I was restoring the vehicle, I'll put a brand new one in and put the old one out to pasture. And I was driving my daughter to work, and the self-tapping screw on the new one fell out, the pin came out, and I lost all my gears out on a main road. And it's a brand new part. So I was able to lift the seat and put it all back together and come home and thought, what's going on? I temporarily put the old one in just to get myself around. And if you have a look, this 44-year-old what is essentially a roll pin that expands in the centre is much more cylindrical and a heavier duty piece. The aftermarket part is almost rectangular, if you have a look like that, or sorry, I should say triangular. And what happens was we put the screw in and it doesn't even lock in, so the screw consequently falls out later on. So also note that the original self-tapping screw is tapered. You should be able to pick that up, and once you screw it into that indentation just here, it expands the roll pin. The roll pin locks into the gear shaft tube, and it locks in quite hard. And it was, the 44-year-old part was far superior than the aftermarket part. So what I'm saying is, beware of the aftermarket part, because you could be left stranded somewhere, particularly if you don't really know how to get around it. So anyway, I've made a modification, and that is I'm using that high tensile 10mm bolt that you can see here with an indent in it to lock it into place. Now to use that, essentially the bushes in here are 10mm in diameter. There's the original 44-year-old ones. And they'll take a 10mm bolt, but the boring in the gear selector shaft is about, from what I found, about 9.5mm to compensate for the expansion in this pin. So what I've done is used an adjustable reamer and taken the boring in the end of the gear selector shaft out to 10mm and given it just a very light amount of clearance. I'd say no more than 0.004 of an inch. And that bolt, that high tensile bolt, is now a very nice fit, sliding fit into the end of the shaft. I'll just show you that, so bear with me. So there's the 4-year-old project, but we won't talk about it at the moment. What we need is to get everyone on the straight and narrow with these. So there you go. There's on the left is the hockey stick into the gearbox, and on the right, of course, is the long shaft from the 4-speed gear selector. And if you look, the top, I've put an M6 drilled and tap into it, and the holes on the side is where I've reamed out to M10 plus clearance. Very slight amount of clearance for that bolt to go through. And then what I'm going to do, once it's assembled, put this small locking screw, which I've turned the taper on my lathe, and that'll lock that all in place. Hit it up with some lubricant, and it'll easily last another 40 years. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because it'd be very easy to come unstuck in the middle of nowhere with one of these not so good reproduction couplings. Cheers.